Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project. Today we got a fun video for you because the Pokemon Mini Core was just released, and if you're wondering what the Pokemon Mini Core is, I will tell you in just a moment, because this hardware definitely was popular back in the day, but I know a lot of people probably missed out on it. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this is a core that no one really saw coming, but it's absolutely amazing that we have it, because the Pokemon Mini came out in 2001, but based upon how it looks, you will see that it is a very 8-bit looking system. Honestly, this kind of looks like if some indie developer made hardware in 2022 and wanted to give it a throwback feel, they would make something that looks like this graphically. I just love how it appears on the screen, and it looks really good too, because the refresh rate of the screen was not 60 Hz, but the core developer has done a great job of making this look really good on your television. I'm capturing this obviously through a capture card, but pretty much whatever TV you play it through, you should be fine. Now, a fair warning, for some reason, at least in my experience, when I first turned this core on, the volume was way too loud. I mean, it was clipping both audio channels basically to the max. So I turned it down 3 clicks or 2 clicks here. It's subjective as to what you want to do, but definitely don't start this core with headphones. Maybe it was just a glitch on my system, but there was something going on there. But you will see that you have a couple options, but right off the top with any new core, you gotta calibrate the controls. But you're gonna see that there's stuff like shock sensor and a power button as well, because you can turn this on or off within the core. So just pay attention to the options, but nothing's gonna work controller wise until you actually assign those controllers. So always make sure you do that with every new core before you get in. And then you just load up a ROM, Pokemon Mini shows up, and you're playing Pikachu Racing. It's actually Pokemon Racing, but it's Pikachu that we're racing as, so you know, that's what it made me think of. But I can't get over how good this core looks on the capture. These big chunky pixels look spectacular. You will see that there is a touch of screen tearing. That's not a problem in the core. That's just making this core run at 60 Hz for a capture or for a television versus its native refresh rate, which was higher. And something like Pikachu's Rocket Start here, these games are all very small, but you definitely want to read about how to play them, and most games have a how to play menu, because off the top, if you don't know what you're doing, Pikachu lost that race. But let's take a look at some of the options in the core itself. You do have backup RAM and autosave. I always recommend turning that on, it just works. And if you take a look at that wild match bouncing up and down, frame blend off and on, I like the frame blending off, but if you like it on, that is an option. You see that there's just a little bit of ghosting when you do that. You can go from full screen to original aspect ratio, but I highly recommend you just leave it as original. And then you have other scaling modes to make this fit, because obviously the Pokemon Mini was a very small screen, so scaling it here works really well in 3x mode if you leave that 240 mode on. There's not a ton of options for the core. They're basically almost all video related, but this is what I recommend you see on the screen right here for actually playing the games on your television. And some of these games are actually kind of engrossing, and I just, like I said again, can't get over the graphical style of this, because I do have a Pokemon Mini. I don't do much with it. But let me tell you, the screen on that is not very good. Seeing these games on a 4K upscaled from 1080p on the MiSTer, or seeing them through a capture device, I love those pixels. I love what they were able to do with the refresh rate, kind of putting animation where it's not. This is a very, very, very light spec handheld that was released in 2001, and trust me, for 2001 the hardware on it was not modern. But in this situation, I think this core and hardware shines, and I am so glad to have this core on the MiSTer. I wasn't even aware that it was in development, but here it is, and I want to talk about it, show it to you guys. Now, I will let you listen to the music. It's definitely chiptune-y, but go ahead and enjoy it for like 45 seconds. I'll come back and talk more about the core. Enjoy! I mean, that's some real beep boop bop right there, and I kind of like it in some spots. In some spots it sounds harsh. That has nothing to do with the core itself, because let me tell you, the Pokemon Mini also has some really harsh sounds here and there. What I can't recommend enough is make sure you play this core with a controller that's compatible with vibration, because all of these games rumble, and they rumble hard because the original Pokemon Mini had a vibration motor in it. So you're missing out a lot if you don't use a controller that's compatible with that. So if you have any controller for your MiSTer that allows that haptic feedback, I highly recommend you use it, because that is half the fun. But this does have a ton of fun games, like this little mini pinball game here. Diglett's popping out of the dirt and knocking around rocks. It's not pinball the way you would expect it to be, but honestly, this, for being a mini handheld console, has some really fun games on it. It's surprising, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be discovering the Pokemon Mini hardware in the games through this core itself. Then you have something like Pikachu Brothers here. Some games, like I said, are just a little bit confusing, but this intro, I love what the designers did with such light spec hardware. Everything is big and bulky for the pixels, everything is flashing. It does a lot with a little, and like I said earlier, this kind of feels like hardware if somebody wanted to do a throwback console. Think of something like the Playdate, except even less powerful. And unfortunately, in some games, I'm just not sure what I'm doing, because old Pikachu here is just going to take a head-on digger right into the ground, and that's not going to be a good day for him, because he is unhappy. But like I said, it's just amazing to see this on MiSTer, and that's why I love MiSTer sometimes. Of course, we have stuff like the PlayStation 1 core, PC Engine, consoles like that have a ton of fun games on them, but I love that people dedicate time and energy to making cores for hardware that you probably remember existing, maybe never even played, and probably forgot actually were still out there. Something like this, like I said, is probably going to be the first time anybody plays this hardware. And there is a vibrant homebrew scene for the Pokemon Mini as well. I was actually surprised when I researched it, just to see how many people actively develop for this little piece of hardware. Some games seem to work okay, and I'm not sure if that's the core or just the coding. Some things like Poke Sonic here are literally just tech demos of a Sonic the Hedgehog sprite scrolling left and right on screen, and there's not much gameplay whatsoever. But go ahead and play around with the homebrew scene. These ROMs are like 1 kilobyte each, so trust me, you can download a bunch and it doesn't really matter. Some games just don't seem to want to load whatsoever, only the homebrew stuff, and I'm highly presuming that is down to how it was developed and has nothing to do with the core itself. Something like Pokemon Zany cards here, there's so many different options on what you can play, and again, I love how contrasty this is. It's basically just black and the absence of black. It has a really nice visual look to it, and like I said, playing this on MiSTer is so much better than holding a Pokemon Mini in your hand, because you're getting such better contrast on a device like this. And there's a lot to play. That's what's really surprising about the Pokemon Mini. I have one, I played it before, but I didn't even realize that the library was so deep on it. Now, it's not the deepest thing in the world, but there's more to play here than just a curiosity, and I love that that happens. And something like this card battling game here, once you actually understand the mechanics, you can play it for like 25-30 minutes and really actually sink your teeth into it, and that's not something you would expect out of the Pokemon Mini, but trust me, it is there. But I'm just excited about this. It's fun to be able to play something outside of its original hardware when MiSTer improves on it. Of course, having something like an RGB modded Super Nintendo is going to play identical to playing it on MiSTer, but playing Pokemon Mini Core is a lot easier and better than using the actual hardware device, because A, it looks better, and B, that little mini handheld has very small controls, and trust me, if your hands don't cramp after 5 minutes, you must have Superman's hands, because when I hold it, my hands basically just feel like absolute crap. But old Pikachu won the race here, and he's celebrating with those little pixels. But yeah, leave me a comment down below. Have you ever heard of the Pokemon Mini handheld before? Have you ever played it before? Is MiSTer going to be your first way to play it? I mean, any device that has a good version of Tetris on it has got to be a win, and the Pokemon Mini has that as well. But yeah, this was not a core I expected to hear about, but it randomly came out, and of course, you know, when something new happens in the world of MiSTer FPGA, I'm going to show you guys and hopefully get you excited about it. But leave me a comment down below, like I said, and tell me what you think about this core, because I'm really curious to hear. Sure, that I'll be back next week with another MiSTer video. I'll have videos throughout the week as well. But yeah, Pokemon Mini, it is an absolute ton of fun on MiSTer. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.